Remember the moment someone made you doubt something you were absolutely sure of. Remember the conversation where you walked away feeling smaller and you couldn't even explain why. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't just how people are. That was a mechanism. A tested, documented, repeatable mechanism. And somewhere out there, science already caught it on camera. You were never taught this in school. Nobody sat you down and said, "Here is exactly how your mind gets rewritten by someone who wants control." But psychologists have spent decades running experiments that expose precisely that. Cold, clinical, undeniable proof of how easily the human brain bends under the right pressure. Today, you're going to see 8 of those experiments. The real ones. The ones manipulators either study on purpose or stumble into by instinct. By the end of this, you won't just understand how it's done to you. You'll recognize it the next time it happens, in real time, before it finishes working. Let's start with obedience, because control almost never begins with force. It begins with permission. In the early 1960s, a psychologist at Yale ran a study where ordinary people were told to deliver increasingly painful electric shocks to another person, simply because a man in a lab coat told them to continue. Most participants felt sick doing it, many objected out loud, and yet a striking majority kept going, all the way to the maximum level, because someone in a position of authority said it was necessary. That's the first weapon manipulators use on you: borrowed authority. They don't need to be powerful. They just need you to believe they are, or that someone standing behind them is. The moment you accept their authority as real, you stop checking your own judgment. The second experiment is about your desire to belong. In the 1950s, researchers gathered small groups and showed them lines of obviously different lengths, then asked each person to say out loud which lines matched. The trick was that everyone else in the room was secretly told to give the same wrong answer. Again and again, ordinary people abandoned what their own eyes were telling them, just to avoid standing alone. That's the second weapon: manufactured consensus. Manipulators isolate you socially, or convince you that everyone agrees with them, so your own perception starts to feel unreliable. You don't need to gaslight someone directly if you can just make them feel like the odd one out. The third one is darker, because it shows how fast a role can rewrite a personality. In a famous prison simulation from the early 1970s, ordinary college students were randomly assigned to play either guards or prisoners inside a mock facility. Within days, the guards, normal, decent young men, began humiliating and controlling the prisoners with a cruelty nobody predicted. The study had to be shut down early. What this revealed is brutal. Give a person a role, a uniform, a title, a sense of power over you, and their behavior can shift faster than their values do. Manipulators know this instinctively. That's why they push to define the relationship early. Who's in charge? Who owes who? Who's replaceable? Once you accept the role they hand you, your behavior starts following the script. Fourth, cognitive dissonance. A psychologist in the 1950s studied what happens to people's beliefs when reality directly contradicts something they were emotionally committed to. The finding was strange and unsettling. Instead of abandoning the belief, people twisted the facts to protect it. This is the mechanism manipulators exploit when they make you invest first: your time, your loyalty, your defense of them in front of others. Once you've publicly stood by someone, your brain fights to keep that decision consistent, even against clear evidence you were wrong. That's why victims of manipulation often defend their manipulator, not out of weakness, but because contradicting them means admitting they misjudged the situation from the start. Fifth is the mechanism behind addiction to unpredictable people. A researcher in the mid-20th century discovered that rewards given on an irregular, unpredictable schedule create far stronger, harder to break habits than rewards given consistently. Think about that. Consistent kindness is comforting, but it's not addictive. Random kindness, warmth, then coldness, then warmth again, with no pattern you can predict, is what keeps you checking your phone, chasing their approval, replaying the good moments to justify staying through the bad ones. Manipulators who alternate between affection and distance aren't being emotionally unstable. Whether they know the science or not, they're running your brain through the exact loop that makes gambling addictive. Sixth, mimicry. Researchers in the late 1990s found something almost invisible. When one person subtly copies another's posture, gestures, and speech patterns, the person being mimicked reports liking them more, trusting them faster, without ever noticing why. That mirroring you feel with someone new, that eerie sense of, we just get each other. Sometimes it's real chemistry, and sometimes it's a calculated reflection, engineered to make you feel understood before you've earned real understanding. Manipulators use this to fast-track intimacy. They become a mirror before they become a person, and by the time you see who they actually are, you've already opened doors real intimacy takes months to earn. Seventh, the foot in the door. A study from the mid-1960s showed that people who agreed to a small, harmless request became dramatically more likely to agree to a much bigger request later, sometimes one they would have refused outright if asked first. Compliance builds on itself. This is why manipulation rarely starts with the big ask. It starts with something tiny, a small favor, a small compromise, a small boundary you let slide, just this once. Each yes recalibrates what feels normal, until the version of you standing there agreeing to something outrageous doesn't even remember the version who would have said no immediately. And the eighth experiment is the one that explains group control. In the 1950s, researchers split a group of ordinary boys at a summer camp into two teams, and simply by creating competition between them, manufactured real hostility, loyalty, and dependency within days. Then, by introducing shared problems the boys had to solve together, that hostility could be dissolved just as fast. This is the blueprint behind manufactured us versus them dynamics. The manipulator who convinces you that everyone else is against you, that only they understand you, that the family, the friends, the outside world are the threat. It's not paranoia they're building, it's dependency, engineered the same way a researcher engineered it on a mountain camp 70 years ago. Here's what ties all 8 of these together. None of them require a weapon. None of them require obvious cruelty. They require patience, repetition, and your own brain doing exactly what human brains are built to do. Trust authority, seek belonging, protect its own decisions, chase unpredictable rewards, warm up to mirrors, escalate small commitments, and divide the world into us and them. Manipulators don't need to invent new tools. They just need to find the switches that already exist inside you and press them, quietly, one at a time, until the person making the decisions doesn't feel like you anymore. So here's a shift you need to make starting today. Every time something feels urgently important, ask who benefits from your urgency. Every time you feel isolated in your own perception, ask who's been shaping who you talk to. Every time you're about to defend someone's behavior that hurt you, ask whether you're protecting them or protecting your own past decision to trust them. Awareness is the only variable these experiments couldn't control for, because a subject who knows the mechanism stops behaving like a subject. If this pulled back a curtain for you, tell me which one hit hardest, down in the comments. And if you want the next layer, the exact language manipulators use to plant each of these switches, subscribe, because that's exactly what's coming next.